I'm Matt. This is Let's Talk Music. I'm here with the guys from American Jetset. Guys, how we doing?
What's happening?
Awesome, man. Good to see you.
Doing great.
So we've been working on trying to get this thing together for a minute. You guys are getting ready to start your West Coast tour. When's that start?
We leave, or we have a couple of rehearsals, and then we leave next week. I'm going to be out there a little earlier on Tuesday, and then we hit our show on Thursday with Enough's Enough. It's actually this West Coast swing is just a real quick one, and then we come back to actually start the real tour, which starts in our hometown at Tally Ho Theater here in Virginia, and that happens sometime in the next 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. So it's a couple little things in April, and then starting May 5th, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
Yep.
And we were just talking about that. You guys coming to Columbus and looking for a different venue. So hopefully I could be helpful with that.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be incredible. Yeah.
um, Tell me about the new singles, man. Black Hearts and Bloody Bruises. Cool ass video. A lot of like bondage kind of sexual stuff. I like it,
That's
guys.
this guy right here. That's
What?
him.
That's not what the song's about at all. What are you getting?
Well, I guess the theme is obviously bondage, but really the whole song is more about control. It's more about the dominant and submissive side of the relationship, even though it is of some sexual nature. But it's really that's one of four slices of the EP. The whole thing is kind of four slices of one relationship, and that happens to be one slice. So in really across the EP, even though it's not a concept EP, it kind of tells a story through four vignettes essentially.
Okay.
And that's one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, I love concept EPs, LPs, whatever. I mean, one of my favorite one of all time is freaking Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime.
Of course, man. Yeah, absolutely. I think that had a big effect on me. I'm not sure about the rest of the band, but all of our albums actually, there's a theme about them. I mean, every single thing we've ever produced, it definitely is not, I won't call them concept recordings at all, but there's definitely a theme. We had an album that's no longer available. It's called Saloon Rock Whiskey Pop, which feels like a movie. I mean, if you listen to it, it sounds like the soundtrack to a sort of a gritty Western rock and roll film, and there's something about it that it's got that vibe. And everything we put out, we really sink a lot of time conceptually into it, and least of all this record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Rush, you guys want to kick in on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what Ian said's right about it being like it's not just four songs, it's four separate parts of one story. When he was coming up with it and we were trying to do the sequencing and we were thinking about the song order and stuff, I had told him that when I first listened through the demos, I kind of felt it like listening or watching like a Tarantino movie where things are a little bit out of order, but it doesn't matter because each part is its own story. Like in some of his movies where the title will come up of that scene, of that section, and I kind of felt that that's what was going on with this. Even in four songs, it's got the ballad, it's got the faster song, and then it's got the two songs that are like mid-tempo, and each one kind of has a different theme. And I think that I think they're placed nicely, and it ends with the ballad, which on the last three records we kind of ended with that ballad that kind of ends the story, and kind of completes it, and of course kind of on a downer. It's a very mournful song, but when I listen to it as a consumer, if I'm not listening to it as a band member, as soon as that song's over, the first thing I want to do is go back to the beginning, and I want it to hit hard again, and I want to hear the story again. So yeah. I mean, I kind of of course I would have liked to have done a full length record with this theme, but I think it's the perfect length, and I think it tells the story, and I think it's perfect to want to listen to again.
I like how my brother put it too. He didn't read a lot into it, but he heard the first pass when we launched it, and he said he could see Kill Thrill City being in the soundtrack of a movie like Escape from New York or something like that. And it just had that vibe for him. And I know that might be dating myself by saying that movie out loud, but
I
that's
think you'd be
just,
in fine company, Kevin.
that's good that he picked up on that without having to, read all of the story behind it. He created his own story, and that's what we hope, people will pull out of it. So
Nice. How about you, Skins? You was saying you wasn't shut up. Let's see your face, buddy. Tell me what you got to say.
I mean, I when Ian brought the demos in, I thought it was brilliant. I couldn't wait to get in the studio and record them, and now I can't wait to get out and play them live.
Yeah,
it's one thing when you're in the studio. I mean, we played off the demos. We went in the studio. We cut the tracks, and we hadn't actually played them live together until just.
And we still haven't. We still haven't. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the first time we played them together as a band was just a few weeks ago, and it was great. It felt really good, and I can't wait to get in front of an audience and play these songs. I think the audience is going to love them too, because there's so much energy to them. Live, I think they're just going to kill.
Yeah. So, look at the press release here. 413 Whiskey A Go Go. Is that your guys' first time playing there?
No, we played there many times since going back to 2018 or 2019. In fact, last year I think we played there 4 times.
Nice.
I can't remember if that's correct, but
our last 2 shows were there in December.
Yeah.
So
that's right. That's right.
And then our next show's there. So I mean,
that's right.
We play there more than we play in our hometown.
We ended our last tour there with Stephen Piercy.
Okay.
Yeah. We starting to catch on though, and use that as a launch point. So the last time we were out there, we actually played 2 nights.
Yeah.
So
the last time we played there, the sound guy said, "Are you guys the new house band?" Because he knows us so well.
So, like, for somebody who's never been there, I mean, it's one of the most famous venues in the country. Tell me what it's like. Give me a description of how you guys feel when you're there playing and knowing the history of that bar. Like, Motley Crue got their start there, and I mean, just honestly, I can't think of another venue in the United States that has that much history.
Right. I think I'll start there. Although Ian played there way before any of us did years ago. But the first time I went, it was more about the nostalgia, meaning like I was looking for all those things like the Van Halen logo, in the cement before you step in there. And you're looking for all these little nuances that are in there. To me, I think there's several iconic venues like that in the US. One of them being CBGB's in New York, which is no longer there, and First Avenue in Minneapolis, but mostly because Purple Rain was filmed there.
Right.
When I got to play at that place, I'm like, holy shit, and I'm like in the dressing room going, that's where this scene happened, and that's where this scene happened. Mm-hmm. Whiskey A Go Go was the same thing. It's been in so many videos and it's been in so many things. And I think the first thing I noticed was how small it was. It was a lot smaller than I had thought it was. And right. I mean, I think when Kiss first did the End of the Road tour 7 years ago, they played in there in full costume, so you're thinking it's bigger. And I walked in there and I remember going, well, shit, this is not that big. It's nice, it's cool, but each time we've played there, it's gotten a little more familiar. But yeah, I think the first time it was more of the I can't believe, you're on stage going, the Beach Boys started here, like everybody. Skinner played here, the Doors, everybody. So you definitely get that feeling when you're up there. It's there's really not much like it. And unlike some of those other venues, it's still nice. CBGB's, you had to step over a giant hole in the floor to go pee in the bathroom. Like it was a piece of garbage place.
Hilly's dog poop all over the place.
Yeah. With the whiskey, it has that history, but it's still nice and it's still a reputable venue, and it's not just the nostalgia that's there. It's a rock club that has probably 6 bands almost playing there every night, 7 nights a week. So I think that was the coolest thing for me.
Yeah, and there's still legends playing there. I mean, it's crazy. It's still making history. And yeah, going back to the size, the first time that I played there, I expected it to be like Hammerjack size, like in my mind and in the pictures I've seen, it looked like a Hammerjack size hall.
Like a concert venue, not a club. Yeah.
But it's really more like the Bayou in comparison to the local clubs that we had here in the DC Baltimore area way back.
Yeah.
Both those clubs are legendary as well. But yeah, the whiskey, it's just I mean, when you step on the stage, it's hard to describe, but knowing that you're standing where like Eddie Van Halen stood and Mick Mars and Jim Morrison, and I mean, it's insane. It's just crazy.
Can I throw another one? Can I throw another one at you guys real quick?
Yeah.
The Newport Music Hall here in Columbus.
I played there.
Used to be the Columbus Algora. Is the longest consistently running rock club in America.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Again, Jim Morrison and the Doors, Grateful Dead. My brother actually went to see AC/DC in 1978.
Wow.
With Bon Scott.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
Drink a Beer with Angus Young. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, some of these venues across the country, man. I mean, it's just like, everybody knows the Whiskey A Go Go. Everybody knows the Viper Room. Everybody knows, CBGBs. But I mean, I think there's so many different places, little holes in the wall that you don't really think about. I mean, when you walk out or walk past the Newport on High Street, you don't think much about it. When you walk in, it smells like beer and urine. I mean, I seen Testament there, and that was the loudest concert I've ever seen in my life, and they about brought that roof down. But it is, I mean, it's a big dome roof. It's got a second deck to it. I mean, I've seen, Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith, freaking Judas Priest. I mean, yeah, just that club is crazy. So
yeah, I think
Ian, that might be another one to look at.
Yeah, I think Ian, you've played out there the first time in like the mid 2000s, right? At the Whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say about the Whiskey and how, it's not really about whether the club's of value, like how valuable the club is to play at or whatever. It's more that in my head, I live for such nostalgia from that time, and I was so obsessed with the music of that time that for me, there's nothing like driving past that marquee and seeing your name on it. Does that it doesn't even matter what other people think about it. Like rolling around, because Sunset breaks there. So like when you're coming down Sunset, you actually you take a little bit of a bend as you bend toward the Whiskey, and it's just there. Yeah. And so there's nothing like seeing that. I mean, I will never get sick and tired of seeing that ever.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You always want to get your picture under that sucker every time.
Oh, with the rainbow right up the street. I mean,
yeah.
I wish I could have been there in like 1989.
Hey guys, give me 1 second. I have to take care of something real quick. I'll be right.
No problem. Hey, all right, here we go.
Yeah, don't worry about it. All right.
So yeah, man. Sorry about that again. Just since I started recording, let me just tell everybody my bladder's weak. I'm old, see. But I mean, I see some grays and Skinz there too. So
you see great on this, but
just the beard. I don't know why.
Mine's pretty great too. So, but I mean, guys, how long you guys been making music? I mean, as American Jetset
since 2018.
Yeah,
2018.
Yeah, we got together into 2018, right? Like Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving, Halloween or something like that.
Yeah. Like October 2018. Yeah. Ian and I kind of came up with it. Kevin joined right away. And then we had another guitar player for a little while. He was gone. Skinz came in, and then the band really started. 2 records in, that's when the band really started.
Okay. So, I mean, 2018. So the pandemic probably screwed you a little bit.
We released our record the week literally that the pandemic was hitting. We had played we had a full tour booked. We were playing with all kinds of people that were on our, we started this, just so you know, we started this whole thing with a bucket list, because we were like, okay, if we're going to be four guys that are playing rock and roll again, what bands do we want to play with? We made that bucket list, started checking people off. The first year we checked off like half those bands.
Nice.
And then the next year we had a list of folks. We were going to play with almost all of them on tour. And then we recorded our record, put it out in February.
The last day of February, 2 weeks before the lockdown.
Yeah, we played our first show of that tour at a festival in Baltimore. It was a hometown show with Charm City Devils. And then we stopped playing for an entire year. And the record was out and was being released. And we had a ton of press from Europe. We had a ton of really good feedback from European fans. So we thought, okay, well, at least we could take some time to focus on those guys. But it kind of died off because the pandemic never kind of cleared up, and it dragged on way too long, and it kind of just killed that record.
Yeah, we had one little private, I couldn't even tell you, it was sometime over the pandemic, but we had one private gig where everybody had to be spaced in the venue, but tables 10 feet apart, two people at a table.
Oh, yeah.
I think
It was so
like
the bands never, it was us and Kicks.
it was like a
Never got-
1,000 capacity
Yeah.
venue, and they were allowing 50 people in at
Yeah.
two top tables, and we were playing with Kicks. And if you've ever seen Kicks live, watching them go in front of 50 people and put on a show like they're playing in front of 10,000, it was something else. But it
Yeah.
was cool playing the first notes that people were hearing live in a long time.
Right.
No matter how many people were there, it was really cool to do that. But I mean, we did that in the middle of 2020, and then we did nothing in 2021.
That's right.
So it was like this weird stop, go, completely stop.
Yep.
Well, see,
And then we restarted last year.
and fellas, here's my thought on the pandemic. A lot of music before the pandemic, I think, was cookie cutter. It was studio music.
Okay.
Since the pandemic, I think it's been amazing, because at that point in time, you didn't have a label rushing you. You didn't have, anybody saying, hey, you've got to get this out by a certain point. You was able to sit down and share your files with each other and write, just spend a whole year of being locked down and writing quality music. And, I'm not saying that you didn't write quality music before or anything. I'm just saying that, like, I've noticed a change in the styles and the especially the lyrics of music since the pandemic. I mean, a lot of the music now is it's focusing on mental health, and I mean, that's a big issue. And if something if anything caused a big freaking problem with mental health, the pandemic did. I mean, it screwed so many people, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that bands were like, that I've talked to, are like, oh man, we just had so much momentum going, and then all of a sudden, bam, pandemic, and it just shot us down. I mean, there's bands that didn't survive. There's venues that didn't survive.
Yeah, we almost didn't. We were almost a casualty of the whole pandemic ourselves.
It was
brutal.
this close.
Yeah, it was literally that close. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I think our music is different after the pandemic. But I think in another way, I think that especially with this record, it was like, at least personally, I didn't want to do anything that we had touched on before, right? We had sort of like this, we're a rock and roll band thing going. I wanted this to start separating us from like all the other party bands that are kind of out there, because there's a glut of rock and roll bands, right? And I love that music, and I love playing with those guys, but I wanted our band to start standing out and to be something slightly different. And while the music's not beating anybody over the head with, brand new ideas, it's way more unique in the space that we occupy, at least, than we were before. I'm not comparing that to others, just in the space that we're in with our music, I feel like we made a move forward. So in that sense, I think that you're right. I think that that's one thing I got from the pandemic is we need to go in another, in a direction that feels like something forward versus laterally.
Right.
It's something to get excited about too, finally getting to go back out there. You go, okay, are we going to go back to what we were doing 2 years ago, or are we going to try to shake it up a little bit for ourselves? And I think that it paid off for us, definitely.
Well, that's great. I mean, and that's what you look for. And, I mean, it's, it really, it sucked, I think, like I said, for everybody. But I mean, I remember the first show they opened up here in Columbus, and our local radio station, 99.7 The Blitz, was like, okay, this show's coming up, don't be jerks, show your vaccination cards, wear your masks. I know it's going to be hot, blah, 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 but people need music. People need to be in the crowd and listen, and people need to just get together, and the musicians need it too. I mean, because you guys are sitting there with all these damn ideas, and you're like, we can't do shit with it. We can write it down, we can put a single out or whatever, but we can't, play live. And that's what, 99% of the bands that I talk to love to do is play live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just, a lot of the virtual concerts and stuff that were going on too, like we just decided at the beginning, we're like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're just nothing against it, but we're like, we're not going to get out of that what we get out of live music, and the fans aren't going to get out of it what they like about seeing us live. So we're just like, we decided early on. I mean, about a year and a half into it, I was like, oh my God, I wish we'd just do something, but, I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't, because, when we finally got back out there and started playing again, it was just fantastic. Our first show back after the whole pandemic was like a sold out show with Jackal, and, these people were just ready to party, man.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just the best show to kick it back off in my mind. I mean, just a packed theater venue. It was really awesome.
Yeah, I've actually partied with Jackal before. Them guys are cool as shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're really nice, fun dudes too.
Yeah. So that it was cool. I'm glad we waited. I'm glad we didn't do anything weird, in any of that kind of stuff, and start doing the recordings with 4, cameras going on and all this. I liked watching some of it out there, but it just, I'm glad we waited.
Well,
I did live.
there was a person in the band at the time that wanted us to practice by way of the internet.
Virtually.
Yeah. And because at the time there was like the software you could use to connect everybody.
Yep.
And I can't even imagine if we had ever got it to work, because I don't know how anybody else is, but I just couldn't have fed off of that. But once the thing ended and we were able to get into a room, it just was right again. You know what I mean? You could feel it. And I'm glad it's over, man, because this is something I need on a regular basis. I love it. I love rehearsal. I love, because we go all out in rehearsal too, because by the time I leave there, I know I'm sweating like crazy. I'm like, trying to put on a show and practice just to keep it going. But I love it too much to try to do it that way.
And that's what it's all about, Ian. I mean, you guys, you're putting your heart and soul, your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And it's when you're happy with what you're doing and the audience is happy with what you're doing. I mean, whether you're living in, a $500 million mansion or you're just in a regular house, you're doing your job. You know what I mean? You're doing what you set out to do. And I applaud you guys for that.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. So just one more question. You was talking about bands on the bucket list. Is Enough one of them?
I guess they probably were at one. I mean, I think because we've just played with so many folks, we kind of throw the list But
Yeah.
but Enough's Enough certainly would have been on my bucket list going back a couple of years. I was a huge Derek Frigo fan. I was a big fan of his guitar sound more than his playing, and it was a big influence on my early sound. So yeah, I would say that. I mean, there's even some songs off our last record that are certainly inspired by Derek Frigo's sound, especially Tokyo Radio, which is probably the biggest song from that record. So yeah, I mean, definitely wanted to play with them. It's just a shame that it's taken this long. We were actually supposed to play with them like
we were
2 years
supposed to
ago.
play with them over.
Yeah, we've been
that was one of the
we've been on
cancels.
bills with them before, but the shows got canceled. I think
Exactly.
we had two bucket lists. We had the absolutely probably not feasible at all bucket list, that had Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses on. And then we had the one where we're like, okay, these are the bands we really like that we'd really like to play to, and we knocked them out. I think LA Guns and DeMoles and Faster Pussycat. For me was Living Color. Playing with them was awesome. Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. And it seemed like at one time that was our goal. It seemed like, oh my God, all of our shows are these shows. And it was absolutely amazing.
Steven Adler.
Yeah, we did get to play with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses, so that worked.
Right.
We knew we would never play with Hanoi Rocks, but we're playing with Annie McCoy this year, so that counts.
And
Hanoi Rocks. I mean,
Mike Tramp of White Lion.
Yeah.
So that's another one. We wouldn't have put White Lion on there because everybody knows that ain't happening. But yeah, so I think that we've worked our way through enough to where it's like, okay, there's maybe a few more in there, people we'd like to get to know and share stage with. But I think we're all pretty satisfied at this point.
I'll tell you what, if you guys get a chance, Jack Russell's Great White.
Yep.
Love Jack Russell. And
I was gonna say that was our first show at the Whiskey was with Jack Russell's Great White as a band.
That dude is, I mean, he's a stud. His voice.
My God, that was a phenomenal show. That was one of my favorite shows of ever in this band. I mean, it was.
You guys named some of my favorites there. I mean, Tom Kiefer, phenomenal musician. The dude plays piano, steel guitar, freaking. I mean, just everything.
You and a big full band. He has a huge band, and it can represent that sound live. Backup singers, everything, keyboards, pianos, guitars.
And then you throw Tracy Guns in the mix. I mean, love me some Tracy Guns. So yeah, guys. I mean, you're out there doing it. Like I said, you're playing the Whiskey. That's again, that's fucking killer. Because one of these days, I'm gonna get my ass out to California and go to that place.
And you're gonna love it. It's fantastic, man.
I just want to be on a Sunset Strip. That's all. I just want to walk up and down like where Motley Crue rode their motorcycles for girls, and just check it out. Axl Rose hanging on the corner and all that shit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like where we park our cars, our rental cars, and or our van or whatever when we're down there. It's like we're parking in the little parking lot that is like right behind where Motley Crue lived in that little apartment above the Whiskey. It's like everything you look around those couple blocks has a story. And it's phenomenal because if you step out in front of the Whiskey, you look up to your right, there's the Rainbow Room. The Viper Room is right there on your left. I mean, you're right there. You don't have to travel more than a block or two for a ton of history. In my mind, there's way more history there than there is like on the Walk of Fame. It's all right there, as far as the music I like.
Also, if you want to go out there and just hang out for that kind of stuff, go out at the end of the year, right before New Year's, or go out right in April, right after the middle of April, because that leads right up to the Rainbow backyard, whatever the hell it's called. And what they do is the Whiskey stacks shows ahead of the Rainbow thing. So it's like our show happens in the middle of a week long of just complete 80s metal festival basically happening at the Whiskey. Like we're like back to back with LA Guns and Faster and a bunch of other bands.
And the week leading up to New Year's, every year, the week leading up, there's a 80s style Sunset Strip band every single night of the whole week. It's like our bucket list in a week. In fact, when we did that in December, we played with Jet Boy, at one night, and we played with Stephen Piercy the next night. We flew home. The next night after that was LA Guns playing on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
So that's the week to go. Kind of expensive to travel there that week, but
Right.
it's a good week for shows.
All right, fellas. Well, we're about out of time here. I really appreciate you joining me this evening. Best of luck to you and your West Coast thing.
Mhm.
And Ian, you got my email. Get back with me about what's going on here in Columbus, and
Hey, absolutely.
we'll set up a live one.
Awesome,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate it, dude.
All right, thank you
All right,
guys.
take it easy, man.
Thank you.
All right. See you
All right.
soon, brother.
Later.
Bye.